This is a reading of The Last Starfighter by Alan Dean Foster, based on a screenplay by Jonathan Boutoul. Copyright 1984 by MCA Publishing, a division of MCA Incorporated. For my nephew Daniel, a fun one. Chapter 1. The Zurian ship exploded in a blaze of flame, which was beginning to dissipate, even as Alex drove his Gunstar through the expanding globe of hot gas and vaporized metal. They were homing in on him now, and he was forced to work twice as hard to dodge their attacks. If the battle pattern held to form, there ought to be a cluster of Kodan fighters gathering for a flanking attack off in the fourth quadrant. He pressed on with his own assault, relentless in his pursuit of the Kodan command ship, clearing one wave after another of the attacking enemy from the battle screen. There they came, a host of them, diving in on him from the side. But he was ready for them. The Kodan were valiant fighters, and they came at you in unending waves. But if your reflexes were sharp enough, you could outmaneuver them. Alex did so now, twisting a path through the assault as the attacking craft struggled frantically to regroup in his wake. Too late for them now, he thought grimly. His fingers were tense on the Gunstar's controls, and he kept his eyes riveted to the battle screen, not allowing his gaze to drift right or left. The screen was all he needed, plenty of power left, and all his weapons still functioned. But the Kodan were crafty. Just when you thought you'd slipped them, another wave of fighters would appear and begin their attack. But he was through them now. Through them all. His main target lay directly ahead. "Approaching Kodan command craft," his computer announced. "Prepare for final confrontation." Suddenly, a host of light perforated on his screen. "Enemy squadrons in section 3, 6, 7, and closing fast." Trying to catch him between them, Alex thought grimly. Well, he knew how to handle that maneuver. He thumbed the evade control, and the Gunstar rocked wildly. The images on the battle screen shifted as he swerved to avoid the new attack, while still holding a course towards the command ship. Then there was a red light washing over the screen, and his fingers trembled on the controls. Warning lights began to appear on the battle screen. He knew what that meant. Loss of life support imminent. Loss of fire control imminent. Loss of... The screen shook from the impact as the Gunstar took a direct hit. After the loss of the drive, the computer told him sadly, almost apologetically. He let his fingers slide from the controls. Too late now, too late to try a different attack plan, too late to avoid the coup de grace. It was a matter of seconds. The Kodan did not know the meaning of mercy. The screen shook again, and his field of view was obliterated completely. It was over. His ship was destroyed. He was dead. Alex Rogan sighed as his battle screen came to life a last time. "Your Gunstar has been destroyed. Your score on this machine ranks you number 1. Please deposit another quarter for additional playing time." Another quarter. 25 cents a resurrection. Cheap enough at that price. Slip the coin into the machine. A strong, insistent, seeker-sized voice cut through the stagnant morning air, demanding and full of cosmic import. "Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada." "Yeah, I know. Bring on the target lights already." He leaned both hands against the console and waited for the game to commence. Off to his left, the sign on the trailer park general store popped and sputtered, fizzled and flashed. Suddenly it spelled out ARLIG ARBRI. and sometimes TARGHT, and sometimes it made sense, like today. The rest of the trailer parks sprawled out across the dry ground behind the general store. It was Alex's home, was the trailer park. His mother managed it. His father, he concentrated on the revived game. His father had been gone a long time. A picture or two on the end table in his mom's bedroom. A photographed image, not a real person. He went after the Kodan fighters savagely. The trailer park was a self-contained little community located on the outskirts of Nowheresville, California. A small village fashioned out of corrugated steel and fiberglass and plastic. Few transients stopped by to make use of the park's facilities. The Starlight Starbright was not one of Southern California's vacation meccas, and its inhabitants liked it that way. It was peaceful and quiet and safe. It was driving Alex crazy. As he pushed and shoved at the controls of the game, the park was waking up around him. Funny, the sounds a community makes as it comes to life. Toasters popping, percolators tripping, juice makers whirring wetly, younger children complaining, "Ma, you know I hate orange juice with pulp in it. It gets stuck in my braces." Electric razors shearing male fleece, multiple throats argyling, and a middle-aged adults wheezing weakly as they attempt their morning exercises. Radios began to come alive behind the general store. Country western mostly, but some guerrilla rock sneaking in here and there. Pork belly prices cohabited on the air with the news from the Middle East, while unseen hucksters hawked everything from underwear to pickup trucks. Striving to be heard above this din were the defiant peeps of finches and sparrows and the occasional stutter of a hidden road runner. "Strange lights there was away up in the sky," one voice was disclaiming insistently over the local talk show. "Sure there were, Mrs. Grandwaters." You could hear the false sympathy in the DJ's voice. Could imagine him winking broadly at his invisible audience as he replied to his guest's declaration. "Now, how many colors did you say it was?" An elderly gent, clad in a t-shirt, faded coveralls, and a battered VFW cap, opened the door of the trailer nearest the general store on the right side, holding a large dog dish. He sat it in front of a waiting hound of uncertain pedigree and patted the long, eared head as the animal ate. When he rose, it was to eye the thermostat that was nailed to the outside of the trailer. Used to be he could read the height of the mercury inside the glass tube from across the road. Now he had to squint. "Already up to 90. He eyed the dog again. "Gonna be a sparklin' day, Mr. President. Sparklin'." A shout drew Alex's attention to another trailer, though he didn't look up from the game. That would be Elvira Hartford. From the sound of it, he fought to ignore the banal conversation as he blasted whole squadrons of Kodan fighters from interstellar space. Sure enough, the woman in question stuck her head out a trailer window. It was full of curlers, giving her the appearance of someone enduring an assault of giant pink caterpillars. Across the walk that separated the trailers, her next-door neighbor, Clara Parks, was just settling into her sun lounge and lighting up her ancient corncob pipe in preparation for the first smoke of the day. Clara had smoked all her life and had put her feelings about the habit in concrete. She coughed a lot. Clara did, but no one dared to bring up the thought of quitting. Clara kept a .38 special in her bedroom dresser. Now she peered across at her neighbor. having a fair idea of what was coming. Clara Parks was 84.
Clara, my electric's out again. Pay attention, Clara. I know you're listening to me. This is important. I'm going to miss my soaps. Settle your britches, woman.
Parks chewed on the stem of her pipe.
I'll pass it on.
She turned in the lounge chair and cupped both hands to her mouth, dangling the pipe from 2 fingers.
Oh, Bill, Elvira's blacked out again. Pass the word on before the crisis hits.
The next trailer in line belonged to William Potter, aircraft mechanic, retired. Potter shaved his face the way he bombed North Vietnam sporadically and ineffectively. Since no one tried to get near enough to kiss him, it didn't trouble his lifestyle.
Pass the word along to whom? Don't get funny with me, Bill Potter,
said Clara warmly.
Just pass it on.
Damn women and their damn soaps, Potter muttered. He didn't say anything out loud, however, lest it be discovered someday that he was a closet Days of Our Lives freak. He walked along his porch until he could see all the way up to the Boone Mobile and shouted towards it.
Elvira's got no juice, and if she can't see her soap, she'll hyperventilate.
That was usually enough to provoke a response from the Rogan trailer. Jane Rogan was manager, bill collector, mail distributor, sector general, field marshal, and repository of all complaints, as well as dispenser of favors for the tightly knit community. She was Alex's mother. She was the boss. The girl who emerged from the Boone trailer nearby was much younger than the manager of the Starlight Starbright trailer park. She was carrying a small ice chest. Her name was Maggie, and it was a source of some ribbing from her friends. It was a name you had to grow into. Hard to visualize a teenager named Maggie. Still harder to imagine 2 proud parents standing over a hospital crib and naming the wrinkled little child in the white hospital room Maggie. But certain names endure in families as a means of perpetuating the memory of relatives long since departed. So Maggie Gordon was heir to the name of a favorite aunt on her father's side. It didn't bother her anymore. Very little bothered the beautiful, dark-haired Maggie Gordon.
Thanks, Mrs. Boone,
she called back towards the trailer.
You have a nice day. You too, honey.
Mrs. Boone emerged to study the sky. Gonna be a hot one. Maggie nodded, made her way down the steep steps by peering carefully around the bulk of the ice chest. Mr. Boone was just leaving the yard, having prepared for a hard day of fishing. He hefted his battered old rod proudly, like a soldier preparing for parade. Got yourself a great day for a picnic, Maggie.
I can't wait, if it doesn't get too hot. Catch a big one, Mr. Boone.
He grinned back at her, secure in his age, his pension, and his hobby. I'm going to try. There weren't many fish to be had in the small desert lake nearby. That didn't worry Mr. Boone. As any true fisherman knows, catching fish has nothing to do with fishing. The catching is an adjacent corollary to the actual art of fishing, which consists of killing time on a small boat as simple as possible, utilizing only the minimal amount of energy necessary to maintain life while simultaneously consuming as much cold beer and snacks as the body will tolerate. Whether you caught any fish or not was, of course, incidental. When Maggie reemerged from her own trailer, she was wearing a bikini beneath a baggy sweatshirt. A thick towel clung to her neck. The old woman who followed her out of the trailer was an elderly reflection of the young girl. Granny Gordon refused to let life get ahead of her, until many of her contemporaries. She wasted no time running in place. The Sony Walkman dangling from her neck was proof of that. She gave her granddaughter a kiss and a friendly warning. You have fun, child, but be careful. No swimming under logs and no diving off the rocks.
And you take good care of Mrs. Boone's ice chest.
I will, Granny. Are you sure you'll be okay?
Be news if I wasn't. Say, who's looking after whom here? Maybe you should stay and watch TV and I'll go on the picnic.
All right, Granny. Maggie smiled affectionately. I give up.
I'll be just fine, dear.
Granny ran a hand through her still thick hair. Not all white, not yet.
You just run along and have a good time and don't worry about me. I'll do all the worrying for both of us.
Fair enough. I fixed your lunch and put it in the fridge.
Granny nodded and did a little dip to barely heard music. Still a little life in the old stems yet, she mused. Wonderful inventions, these new portables. She watched as her granddaughter crossed the courtyard, heading towards the main gate. Lots of life in that girl. Looking after her wasn't work, it was joy. With that happy thought in mind, she turned and re-entered her trailer, getting out of the sun while getting down. The woman hanging out the laundry on the trailer across the way was in her 40s, strong of body and personality. Mention women's lib to Jane Rogan and she'd laugh at you. Having worked for a living since her teens. For all that life of nonstop hard work, she was as cheerful as a San Francisco socialite and a damn sight healthier.
Morning, Mrs. Rogan.
The park manager peeked around her laundry.
Morning, Maggie. You're looking spry.
Feeling good, Mrs. Rogan. Did you find the picnic basket? She fumbled behind her, hunting briefly through mounds of white.
Here it is.
She handed it over.
Thanks, Mrs. Rogan.
Maggie's eyes searched the parking area beyond the gate.
Where's Alex?
Jane Rogan shook her head, sharing a secret smile with Maggie. He's up there. Where else? Maggie nodded knowingly.
Right. Hi, Lewis.
She moved away from the open trailer door. An instant later, a rubber dart clung to the metal nearby. It was retrieved by a tousled, haired 10-year-old wearing a disappointed frown. His aim was still off. Either that or the dumb space gun needed a new spring.
Morning, Space Son Lewis,
said Mrs. Rogan. She raised the visor of his space helmet and planted a kiss on his forehead. He wriggled away, but slowly. He was concentrating on his work, which he carried out with all the solemnity of a surgeon attempting the world's first brain transplant. This consisted of carrying the small black and white TV while playing out an extension cord behind it. Jane Rogan watched with one eye until her younger son had vanished into the gracefully painted plywood teepee that squatted near the back of the small yard. As soon as the sounds of the morning cartoons began to drift from it, she turned her attention away, satisfied that Lewis was not going to electrocute himself this morning. Another voice made her turn from the washing.
Yoo-hoo, Jane!
Granny Gordon was leaning on the back fence. Everybody called Mrs. Gordon Granny, not out of deference to her age or status, but because her real name was Griddell, and the old woman would sock anyone who used it. Hi, Granny. How's the back this morning? Granny put a hand to her spine and smiled faintly.
Still working, sort of.
You ought to go see that chiropractor Dan Robbins keeps recommending. The older woman shook her head. No, thanks. I like these old bones right where they are. What you doing?
Well, Elvira's electric is out again, and she's going to get hyper if she can't see her soaps. She'll make everybody's day impossible.
Don't I know it? Agreed Jane readily. Pass the word back that Alex will be over to patch her line in time for her soaps. That'll hold her for a while.
Just for a while, though, I swear, if they said on those shows that you could walk on water, we'd be fishing Elvira out of the river before sundown. I'll tell her Alex is coming, Jane.
Thanks. Jane Rogan saw movement off to her right. Lewis was taking deadly aim with his space pistol on a sleeping feline.
Louis, leave that cat alone and go tell Alex I need to see him. Ah, Mom, I wasn't going to do nothing. Wasn't going to do anything, Louis. Now go and get your brother. A dumb messenger, that's all I am. He climbed to his feet and stared longingly at the unsuspecting cat. Then he sighed and exited the yard, headed for the store, and taking time off to fire a few desultory darts in the direction of old Otis's chickens. They squawked and fled for cover, making him feel better. When you're real small, it's important to know something's afraid of you, even if it's only a bunch of dumb chickens. As he walked, he looked for Mr. President, Otis's old hound. Mr. President, however, knew Louis from long experiences. Since it was forbidden to chew the boy's arm off, the dog had learned to avoid his approach. From beneath the cool safety of the trailer bulk, he watched Louis pass. Having taken as much time as possible to go from the trailer to the store, Louis finally mounted the steps onto the wooden porch. Store and porch had been there long before the trailer park, but the old wood was solid as iron. Louis crossed the porch, keeping an eye out for scorpions. His big brother was 18. To Louis, that put him right up there with their mother, though not with Granny, Gordon, or Otis. Alex seemed impossibly tall to Louis, who knew for a certainty that he would never, ever reach such impressive heights himself. He'd also heard that Alex was good-looking, which just goes to show how much grown-ups know, because Louis knew it was for a fact that his brother was just a malformed klutz, whose sole task in life was to make things unbearable for the only important human being on the planet, Louis Rogan. At times he could be neat to have around, though, like when they went swimming together. Louis conceded that his big brother went. Alex wasn't all that bad, but today he was going swimming with his own friends. And to compound the bad judgment, he was going swimming with girls. That lapse of taste Louis could never forgive. Now he strained to see past his brother's ribs, looking at the video screen that was alive with flashing, rapidly changing lights. The image fascinated Louis. They were so alive, so full of movement and trickery. Alex ignored his younger brother's shadow, letting his fingers dance easily over the multiple controls. Louis watched and tried to learn, knowing that Alex was a master at video games. Once he'd watched during a trip to the big arcade in town, while other kids who were older oohed and awed as Alex ran up several million points on Stargate, a game too complex for his 10-year-old mind to think of trying. But this new game, the Starfighter, was even more complex, with half again as many controls to manipulate. Yet Alex seemed better at it than anything else. Something one of the other kids had called rising to the challenge. Some kids wouldn't even try Starfighter because it ate their quarters too fast. On a good day, Alex could play the game for hours on just one. When he wasn't being interrupted, Louis reminded himself, so readily did he lose himself in the game that he almost forgotten what he was sent to the store. Mom's looking for you, Alex. Yeah, sure, his brother replied, while taking his gaze from the video screen. His arms hung parallel to the ground, still relaxed, only his fingers moved, depressing fire controls, adjusting thrust, guiding a tiny microprocessed Gunstar through the maze of enemy fighters. It was very much a virtuoso display. Alex played the game as smoothly as Horowitz did his Steinway. Come on, Alex. Mom will be mad at me. What for? Bright blue lights momentarily filled the screen, fading to reveal a new series of targets attacking faster than ever, relentless and uncaring. She told you to come tell me she wants to see me. Okay, you've told me. You're in the clear. Yeah, right. Louis brightened, tore his gaze away from the motion-filled screen just long enough to locate one of the chairs that sat on the porch. Dragging it over, he climbed up onto the rickety platform. For a breathless moment, he was an adult, as big as Alex. Look out! Somehow his brother avoided the wave attack from the left quadrant. Lewis couldn't imagine how Alex had seen the attack coming in time to evade. He swayed on the chair, mesmerized by the lights and sounds, waving and bobbing wildly. After all, it wasn't his quarter at stake. "Get him, Alex, get him!" Get him Alex did efficiently, professionally avoiding every attack on his own vessel while methodically eliminating everything the game could throw at him, quietly reveling in the simulated destruction and fully confident of his skills. Lewis edged closer and closer to the machine, drawn by the sight on the screen. His small face was aglow with the light. Alex was so good it was more fun to watch him than to play yourself. Well, almost. So much pleasure and all for a quarter. Being good helped, though. Somehow the game wasn't as much fun to play when it only lasted a minute or so. Blam! 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 Cool the sound effects, Lewis. I can't hear the machine. And move your head, will you? Once more the screen showed him the command ship. It loomed huge on the battle screen. He tried a different evasion pattern this time, hoping to avoid the squadrons of enveloping fighters that had shot him down the last time. It didn't work. He was dead again. Dying a lot this morning, he thought. Nuts! He gave the console a whack before jamming both hands into his pants pockets. Not fast enough. I should have had it that time. A new voice chimed in. Both boys turned to see Otis staring at the screen. Heard you almost hit 800,000, Alex. That was yesterday. Would have, too, if Lewis hadn't bumped my hand. Did not? Wow. Lewis pointed towards the screen. 700 and his face wrinkled up in confusion. The number was beyond him. Alex eyed the screen with careful indifference. 782,000. Almost as good as last night. Yeah, and I didn't hit your hand this time neither. Lewis shot back. No, but you stuck your fat head in my way. I heard you were in the millions last week on Stargate in town. Alex shrugged, concealing the pride he took in his accomplishment. Yeah, but lots of guys do that around the country. Stargate's easy compared to Starfighter, he added casually. Though I haven't heard of anybody else breaking 500,000 besides me. Maybe you'd win a national contest if they held one. I guess I might have a chance, but only the big game companies run contests like that. Atari, Sega, Nintendo, Williams. I never heard of the company that makes this Starfighter game. Must be some new outfit. Maybe so. Maybe they will have a contest if they get big enough. Yeah. You going to pay my way to it, Otis? The older man chuckled. Not on my Social Security, I'm not, Alex. Tell you what, though. You keep practicing, if Starfighter contest ever comes up, we'll see about getting you to it. Alex grinned. It's a deal. Otis nodded to his right. Looks like somebody looking for you, Alex. He turned, saw Maggie exiting the side gate carrying a picnic basket, towel, and a small ice chest. The chest was sweating, suggesting inviting contents. At the same time, a new pickup pulled in off the highway, rolled into the parking lot in front of the store. It was filled with kids, Alex's own age, all laughing and joking while fighting not to spill over the tailgate. Come on, Alex, they're here. Maggie broke into a trot, managing her awkward burden easily as she headed for the truck. For an instant, Alex wondered, what the hell was she talking about? Then memories from real life came flooding in. Silver Lake, the picnic, I forgot. He started to run after Maggie. Hey, Alex, Lewis pointed at the game. You want a free credit. What about it? You just going to waste it? Alex concealed a smile. The greed was as bright on his little brother's face as a 1,000-watt halogen lamp. He deepened his voice, trying to imitate the game.
Starfighter Alex Rogan requesting permission to turn over Gunstar controls to my little brother Lewis, sirs. A brief pause, then he added, telepathic communication confirmed. Okay. She's all yours, Lewis. Unable to believe his luck, the 10-year-old hastily wrestled the chair he'd been standing on around until it fronted the console. Oh boy. He hit the start button, small fingers waiting tensely above the fire controls. Alien warships appeared on the glass, firing out at him. Grinning, Alex turned to follow Maggie, while Otis just shook his head and started back towards his trailer. Lewis's excited voice followed both of them.
Okay, alien dorks, you're dead, 'cause it's me, Lewis Rogan, flying the Gunstar now.
A bright red flare filled the screen, and Lewis's expression immediately became one of inexpressible disgust.
Oh, crapola, give me a chance, will ya?
Everyone in the pickup was already wearing swimming gear. Well, he could borrow some, Alex knew, in case Maggie had forgotten his. Or he'd shock them all by swimming in the buff. Sure he would. It was Jack Blake's pickup. Not that he expected anything else, just as there wasn't anything he could do about it. Besides, on the pickup, Blake had money for gas, money for beer, for movies, for concert tickets, which was another way of saying that his parents had money. What was it they'd learned from the Constitution? All men are created equal? Bullshit. When did he get equality with Jack Blake? Somehow the writers of the Constitution had left that one out. He asked his mother about it. There are no guarantees in life, Alex. And it isn't always fair. That's what she told him. Jane Rogan versus Thomas Jefferson. From what he deserved of life so far, he'd long since decided he'd be better off listening to his mom than any of the founding fathers. Most of them had been rich, too. The pickup was big, fat, bright, red Dodge Ram Charger with a chrome tow bar on the front and 4 big, bright deer spotters mounted atop the cab. Even the damn roll bar was chromed. Conspicuous constipation. Blake sat lazily behind the wheel, cowboy hat slightly askew, looking like something out of a sarcastic Waylon Jennings song, the kind Jennings used to sing back before he and Nelson got big, in West Texas towns like Breckenridge. In the back, a couple of kids sipped cokes. The beer would emerge from hiding later at the lake, leaning back in lawn chairs and soaking up the rays. Just plain unfair, Alex mumbled to himself. As he passed the row of rusty mailboxes mounted near the store, he paused to peer inside the one labeled Rogan, in reflective plastic letters. A daddy longlegs scurried for cover as Alex's fingers probed. Jack Blake waited behind the wheel of the idling truck, racing the oversized engine. He was fully conscious of his status in the local adolescent hierarchy and gloried shamelessly in it. Not yet old enough to realize that it would all vanish the moment he entered the adult world beyond, where they didn't give a damn about ostrich skin boots and red pickups. For now, though, he was a king, and there was nothing artistic or benevolent about his disposition. His eyes traced the outline of Maggie's body as neatly as Mrs. Hawkins' opaque projector traced scientific drawings for projection on the screen in their darkened science class. Foxy chick, Maggie Gordon, even if she did hang around too much with the nerd Alex Rogan. Rogan was harmless, though beneath Blake's notice. Cindy Hammond sat next to him, staring impatiently out the window, anxious to get to the lake. He looked forward to finding out if she'd fall out of her bathing suit. Such thoughts didn't keep him from coveting Maggie Gordon. More important than having either one of them was having what was denied to him. It was the taking that was important, the acquiring, though Blake formed the idea in much cruder language. "Come on, Alex," one of the boys in the back yelled.
Pile in. Jump in, Maggie. She handed up the basket, ice chest, and towels, then climbed agilely over the tailgate, making sure to leave room for Alex to follow. She saw him expecting the mailbox. Did he come yet? Not yet. Reluctantly, as though it might still appear, Alex shut the front of the box. It didn't close all the way. Mailboxes never did. All manufacturers designed them so they wouldn't completely close. Alex knew on explicit orders from the post office. Seeing this, two of the guys in the truck bed began razzing the slow-moving Alex. What is it this time, Rogan? Yeah, you joining the Foreign Legion or signing up for the Space Shuttle School? They don't take vidiots for space shuttle pilots, Rogan. Not one to be left out of the chorus, Blake leaned out the driver's window. Yes, sir, folks, step right up and meet the boy adventurer, Alex Rogan, on the last leg of his worldwide trip to nowhere. Alex continued toward the pickup. A sour smile creased his face. Very funny, Blake. If you guys think I'm going to stick around here, watch you shine your pickups, get drunk and vomit every Saturday night, and wind up at the city college like everybody else, forget it. I'm going to do something with my life. You sure are turkey, said Blake readily. You're going to go to work for old man Fargy fixing TV sets. I remember what you just said when you come over to fix my big screen Sony. You haven't got a big screen Sony, Blake. The driver of the pickup smiled smugly. No, but I'm going to, which is more than you can say for you, dumbass. Alex had a brilliant repository prepared. But the duel was interrupted by a voice not as easily dismissed. Alex! Wincing, he turned to look back towards the tin house. It was his mom, sure enough, leaning out one of the windows to call to him. Alex, Elvira's electric is out again. Innocent enough on the surface, commanding underneath, the occupants of the truck were unable to stifle their laughter. His face burned. At least Maggie wasn't laughing, though. At this point, that was a small comfort. He tried to make his reply sound manly and forcible, to no avail. No matter how hard he tried, it still came out sounding like a whine. Ah, Mom, that'll take all day. I was going to Silver Lake. She nodded, looked sympathetically as she gazed past him towards the truck full of friends. Unfortunately, someone had to fix the electricity, and Alex was trailer park repairman number 1. I'm working lunch and dinner at the cafe, Alex. I'll be gone all day. That was a low blow, he thought angrily. Why did mothers always have to fight like that? Must be a talent passed down from mother to daughter. One of the many unfathomable maternal secrets boys could never share. She wouldn't think of ordering him to do it. Oh, no. He sighed, knowing that he had already lost the battle, just as he knew she wouldn't have asked him to do the work if she could have managed it herself. Okay, Mom, I'll do it. She smiled back at him, and he felt better, but only for a moment. Turning back to the truck, he sought Maggie's eyes. Maggie, who somehow managed to look twice as pretty as any other girl in town, despite the lack of makeup and the baggy old sweatshirt she wore on top. He forced his reply. It made him sound noble, which was not how he felt. You better go ahead, he said. No, I'll wait for you. Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde, all the great tales of heroic love he'd studied in school thrilled him no more than those few words from Maggie. No, this could take a while. More than a while, but he needed to use the lie now to spare both of them later embarrassment. I'll catch up with you later. She understood. He could tell by the look on her face. It was a small consolation. Okay, see you later. Sure, he muttered. Later. Yeah, we'll be looking for you to fly over, said Blake, leading the others in laughter as he peeled the pickup out of the lot and towards the highway. Alex could still hear the laughter in his ears long after the big engine had faded into the distance.